Well, hello again, and welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone's having a really good Saturday, and I know in about an hour I'm going to be leaving and going to a meetup in Winston-Salem here in North Carolina, and looking forward to meeting some new friends and seeing some familiar faces. I think that if we actually had everyone show up that's been to one of our meetups, we'd probably have 30 to 40 people. So that's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to doing that. But before I do that, last night I pulled out the 1981 bound volume for the Watchtower, and I was going to do some research on the September 15th articles regarding disfellowshipping. However, I did get sidetracked, and I ended up running across an article called The Practice of Shunning and Its Consequences. And this information that I'll be presenting to you today comes from Dr. Savin Bapir-Tardy. I butchered that last name, but she is a counseling psychologist, and she works out of the University of West London, and she's working with a woman's right charity with victims of domestic violence, honor-based violence, forced marriage, and female genital mutilation. So the group the charity she represents is called IKWRO, and I looked and found out that they do have a Facebook page. So you may want to check that out. But this lady put this article out, and I just wanted to read it to you guys. That's all I wanted to do, just read it to you and tell me what you think. So this is how it starts. Humans are most commonly considered to be a social nature, or to be social beings by nature. This makes an individual's social life critical in their mental well-being. In fact, an individual's survival depends on having strong, long-lasting relationships based on mutual trust. Taking into account the importance of our social life, it would be obvious to state that when this is taken away, it can have harmful effects on an individual's mental well-being. This need is often used by communities, their leaders to be more specific, to ensure that everyone is obeying the same collective views. Failure to do so is often punished by the person being banished from the community. This phenomenon is often referred to as shunning or ostracism. Essentially, shunning is a form of social shame and humiliation. More specifically, shunning or ostracism is a form of abuse. It is discrimination and silent bullying. Unfortunately, often people who have been shunned also face other forms of abuse, ranging from death threats and physical assaults to murder. In everyday language, we use shunning and ostracism as being synonymous. However, shunning is a form of ostracism. Ostracism comes from the Greek word ostrakismos, and this was a technique that was used under the ancient Athenians, where citizens who posed a threat to the state were banished from Athens for 10 years. Human history is rich in examples of ostracism, being used within communities and institutions to enforce conformity, punishment, or control, or all of the above, in order to ensure their identity as a collective group. This means that there is no room for individual thinking or beliefs that go against the collective beliefs or the rules. The phenomenon, I can't talk today, geez. The phenomenon of shunning and ostracism has often been linked to cults. It is a tactic that is used as a form of punishment for those who are perceived to have transgressed, questioned any of the community's beliefs, or who do not share the same collectively held beliefs. Shunning is often implemented by community leaders. They encourage families to also shun their family members, including their children. Failure to do so implies a loss of honor within the community, and families who refuse are likely to be banished as a whole because they have lost their honor within the community, and the community as a whole feel that they have been dishonored. It is well documented in research from social psychology that people obey orders that are given from someone in authority. If those in authority are encouraging shunning, people will obey this, regardless of the psychological distress and the damage that it may have on the family. Adding to this, shunning is a powerful tool for social influence. So leaders use it to ensure that people will obey them in order to maintain their membership within the community. Let's not forget, humans are social beings, and the prospect of facing social humiliation, shame, and rejection are not a prospect that we aim for. In fact, we would do anything to avoid it. The psychological consequences of being shunned can be best explained as a social death penalty. The immediate effects are isolation from family and the community. There is an attempt to make sense of why this is happening to them. How could the family have rejected them? The person then starts to attack their sense of self, which is also why shunning is often perceived as the death of personhood. This leads to feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, and worthlessness, depression, low self-esteem, suicidal ideations, and self-harming behaviors. Also, researchers in psychology have observed a high prevalence of PTSD amongst people who have been shunned. To get a more clear idea of the pain that shunning can cause, researchers have observed that even being a bystander to shunning can have a dire psychological consequence. The psychological consequences of being shunned are long. Although externally there may not be any wounds, internally the wounds are deep and long-lasting. Working therapeutically with people who have been shunned is very challenging. All of the negative beliefs that they hold about themselves are often, in the eyes of the victim, reinforced by the act of being shunned. Also, individuals who have been shunned live with psychological agony, often for the rest of their life. In the long term, shunning becomes a long-term psychological torture. Very interesting read, and when you hear that, how does that apply to Watchtower? And I guess the question that I want to ask Jehovah's Witnesses who practice this shunning is, do you want to continue to be a person that is having a share with Watchtower in physically or psychologically torturing somebody for their life? So, just a thought today. We'll love to see what you think. Leave it in the comments. If you like what I'm doing, please hit like and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the little bell so you're notified to when I come out with more videos. So thank you again to everyone. And please join us tonight on Bridget Pfister's channel as we air the second episode of The Unconditional Love Seat, where we talk about making friends. Thank you guys, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.